Cheers everyone, welcome back. Grandma's Handbag, Downunder Discs time. Thank you so much for joining us here. Been away a few weeks, just letting my hair grow, would you believe it? And probably nothing else of consequence in between. But anyway, how are you all doing? I hope you're very well. I really appreciate you dropping by here for some new Australian music, all female variety. So we're going to get into that in just a second. Grandma's taking note of the time of day, and hopefully this light isn't a bit weird, but just sticking with something a little bit softer this time. So it's time to grab the favourite mug and have a cup of tea. How do you like your tea? I'm white with sugar if I'm feeling a bit risky. Biscuit would be nice if no sugar, but otherwise. And luckily, it's got some Sri Lankan tea, broken orange pekoe. Parents brought this back a couple of months ago now. Actually, they got in just before the borders closed here for coronavirus. So anyway, Downunder Discs, Australian music time. This is a kind of a response of sorts, not really, but Shannon D back in. Welcome back, Shannon. I did a video a few weeks ago of her top 40 female artists. And, you know, this has always been a source of slight shame for myself in that I don't have a great representation of female artists in the collection, to be honest. And there's no real excuse for that. You know, I think Shannon said in a comment that, you know, you can't help it if you like mostly these artists sort of things. Well, yes and no. The no being that, you know, if there's not that exposure around, then you don't accustomed to it, I guess. So I've been making more of an effort lately, and also especially because I think the past few years has just been, you know, as the digital gramophone put it, the future is female, or certainly at least non-male or non-binary stuff. There's just a great outpouring of music from women and non-binary people of late. It's amazing, and it's great to see. So this is my attempt to jump on that bandwagon for a second. It's not really, hopefully not jumping, but just want to share some Australian artists of the past couple of years. Most of these are last year's records, just late showing them, and hopefully something in there that you'll like. Anyway, we'll kick it off with a couple of 7-inches. The first one, Freya Josephine Hollick, and she is, I think, out of Victoria. So this is a split 7-inch with Buick 6. So Buick 6 is the backing band. I'm just going to turn down this music. We'll get to the listening music in a second. Buick 6, the backing band for Lucinda Williams. So that gives you a bit of an idea of what's going on here. They backed Freya on this one. So that kind of alt country twang to it. I'm definitely getting a bit of that Lucinda Williams vibe. I also pick up a bit of Dolly Parton in here, maybe more in the, you know, the approach and the feminism of it. Also the songwriting and vocals to an extent. Track is Nobody's Better Than No One, and I could definitely hear Dolly writing something to that effect. Anyway. I'll be looking forward to more from Freya Josephine Hollick this year. She recorded that song and I think a whole album last year in the States. So hopefully this year it'll be out. Alright, so we've got Amyl and the Sniffers with the next one. I've shown Amyl and the Sniffers before. This is a live 7-inch live at the Croxton. Control, Gacked on Anger there. And Shake Your on side B. I just love that title, Gacked on Anger. Gack is a colloquial term for speed or methamphetamine here, so it gives you a real feel for that. But it also gives you a feel for the lead singer, Amy Taylor. Just this, like, righteous, furious kind of energy and anger to her, of kind of doing what I would call pub punk music. So a woman lead singer in a very male-dominated atmosphere, and she can bring a very masculine aggressiveness and energy to things, but with a real feminine awareness. Just a shining light, I have to say. Yeah, and I call this pub punk because it's that equal mixture of the Ramones and AC/DC pulling it in each direction. Very good stuff, always good stuff. What we're listening to here, so this is Parsnip and When the Tree Bears Fruit from 2019, Sydney band. I'm pretty sure they're a local Sydney band. Anyway, so I don't know if you can hear it coming through here. It's an all-girl four-piece, very, very pop-end post-punk. It's hard for me to describe this one, really. But pop end of post-punk, and I'm talking the very quiet and subtle end of that. Young Marble Giants and the Raincoats, if they're your thing, on here. It's all quite cheery and sing-song. It's a little darker when you dig in, but, you know, even with that sort of fairy tale element, there's some interesting stuff going on. Having said that, it's taken me a while to warm to, you know, sometimes that sing-song cheeriness can be a little bit cloying, but yeah, deeper listening, and you kind of get past that into the simple inventiveness of the playing and arrangements on here. Very, very good stuff, though I wouldn't have said that a few months ago. So it's always worth persevering, I guess. Alright, so the next one is only a few weeks old, and this is really firming up to be an album of the year for me. Not that I get a lot of albums when they come out, but Sweet Whirl with How Much Work. So Sweet Whirl is Esther Edquist, and just a lovely album. You know, it's just very, very assured, very evenly paced. You know, 10 tracks on here, not skeletal, but just fleshed out right, you know, not too much, definitely no over-egging the pudding on this one. You know, it feels to me very generous, very languid sort of album. It's in no particular hurry, you know, and when I say that, think Beach House in terms of the vocals and just the slowing down of things in a sort of a pop context, you know, not too crowded. And the vocals very much in that same sort of vein. Not a deep register, but really, and not simple either, but just lovely. So I get, yeah, Beach House, Wise Blood, from what I know of Wise Blood anyway. But then also that classic poise of singer-songwriters like Carole King. And it's just, it's a rather beguiling listen. I look forward to spinning this a lot more throughout the year, but I want to leave you with a quick taste of Patterns of Nature. Beautiful song, that.
The patterns of nature got nothing on me. Oh, it makes it feel like home. Is the feeling I could be wrong? What makes it feel like home to me is the part of you that doesn't stay long enough.
But I wanted to add this one in. Only a digital release at the moment, but very good stuff for what it is. Julia Y with, well, I haven't got the title. If I remember it, I'll put it in there as well for you. But definite shoegaze vibe on here, and that's sort of mixed up a little bit with that, you know, 90s feminist rock, you know, slightly more aggressive, direct musically as well, rather than the swathes of guitar and distortion and layering, you know. And yeah, again, strong feminist lyrics, which great stuff to hear in there. Musically, yeah, going from between Ride, Slow Dive across to, you know, maybe not the strength or punk of Bikini Kill or La Tigre, but that kind of a feel in areas as well. Really enjoying this one, and yeah, worth having a listen. Alright, the next one, 2017, this might be the oldest one in here, only recently picked it up, been meaning to for a while. This is Phaser Days with Morningside. So Phaser Days out of New Zealand, Amelia Murray on there, and this is very much in the bedroom pop, touching on dream pop sort of thing, but minimal dream pop if anything. Yeah, bedroom pop for sure. You know, Japanese Breakfast is the one you might think of with it. You've got yeah, just that more streamlined. Now, as a debut album, this one feels kind of emotionally sort of younger, unadorned, and that suits the music very well. I'm really interested to see where she'll go from here. A solid debut, if not amazing, but I think there's better things ahead, and I'm interested to hear that. One is an album I've really been enjoying. Now, I pre-ordered this and it probably came back close to a year ago. There's even a little there you go. Oh, there's a little signed thing there from Hatchie. So this is Hatchie with Keepsake. Hatchie is Harriet Pilbeam, and Sam the Vinyl Dude showed this recently. I think Hannah picked up a copy as well, so they know what I'm talking about with this. Definite dream pop, shoegaze textures, but also a very now pop production sheen to things as well. I think this one comes on a clear vinyl. There might be quite a limited one as well, but some nice stuff. Musically, it's quite beguiling, I have to say, and I picked up first on her earlier EP, which is Sugar and Spice EP. Now, this has got 5 tracks on there. I would probably say 3 of those 5 could fit on here, even though this album is a progression again. Very strong shoegaze vibe on the title track, Sugar and Spice, which is, you know, really nice to hear. Other times a little bit too sweet for me, but this album doesn't suffer from that whatsoever. I just keep dropping these notes. Ridiculous. I'm sorry, guys. Anyway, so yeah, shoegaze, dream pop in places it sounds like the Cocteau Twins. Vocal-wise, definitely. But also in that churning bass that the Cocteaus get Simon Raymond in there. And also those spangly guitars sort of make an appearance through here as well. And I think that liquid swimming distortion of the guitars and things comes, especially in shoegaze, it struck me recently, it sort of mirrors the turmoil, the emotional, the uncertainty of the lyrics and things very, very well. That it just comes with being unsure, and the reason why I guess that fits in well with this and a debut album, and I suppose the time in life where Hatchie's making this, and the title, it all really fits together for me. Keepsake, it's this almost this memory of a time and place that you've been through, and you can hear it and think back to what it was like. Now I'll hear this and think back to friendships and relationships of earlier days, and sort of the uncertainty of all of that. So I can see why that's done that way, and that's kind of the joy of this album, is it reminds you what it is like to be young and figuring out through those experiences and those mistakes and that. And to that end, I want to leave you with Her Own Heart. To me, almost the centerpiece of this album, where it's sort of like that thing where you work out how to heal, be in that moment, but then also take the time to heal, and then also push on through that. And the last one we got is probably my album of 2019. This is Carla Del Forno, the third album that she's put out. And I would say probably the darker and more mature side of Hatchie. Less so musically than, emotionally, or what's going on the album, I would say. Maybe musically, even though they're not in the same sphere, though. But what I think this album, to me, is a stunningly assured third album. It's largely self-made, self-produced. And she's already got her own sort of sonic stamp happening on things. It doesn't sound like an awful lot of other stuff I've heard out there. Maybe you guys will have. Again, back to 4AD, the early chill that some of those 4AD albums have out of the 80s, and it's got also that same label's melding of art and pop. Here there's these dub influences on the production, really making things spacious, dark, and kind of unafraid of being those things, and all the stronger for it as well. Tracks on here, there's synthesizer violin duets, there's instrumentals that space out the vocal tracks on the album, and it just shows that sort of pacing and the ability to, inject that moment of thought and poise, and pause, I suppose, more than poise, between songs. Just shows, it doesn't have to be a pop album, but it can still have the same impact, I suppose. If I was to put songs on here, I would say Took a Long Time, So Much Better, but everything sort of flows into a beautiful whole of an album. Not overly long, 10 songs and maybe 35 minutes or so, but like I said, stunningly assured. And I'll leave you with a track. I'm not sure which one it's going to be. Might be Took a Long Time, but so happy to have this, and really do recommend you checking it out more if you like what you hear. Carla Del Forno, look up sharp.
It took a long time for us to reach out.
cheers everyone, thank you so much again for joining in. Let me know what you thought of any of these, if there's any that are up your alley, worthy of investigation, or if you know more about them, if you've come across them before. I always love talking to you about good music, and these are some I think I've found that are good and worthy of bringing to you guys. So cheers to you all, take care, have a great week.